Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Thursday, May 23rd edition of Kiwanis Club of Cleveland. Our patriotic song today will be led by Jerry Arms, our Pledge of Allegiance by Vince McLaughlin, and our invocation by Cliff Easton. Please face the flag.
My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountain side, let freedom ring.
Salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity that you've given us to gather together. Thank you for this wonderful weather that we're able to get out and enjoy. Bless this club and all of our endeavors. Bless this food and nourishment of our bodies, and us to your service. We ask this prayer in your Son Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
All right, Jerry, do we have guests today?
Hey, man.
Surprise! Leanne has a friend.
Yes, I
Don Carlson is with us today.
did. Boy, he really got that
Yes,
one.
Scott, it's good to have you.
Thank you.
I think
Adam has, and the rest of his lovely family. Rachel, is that correct? The wife and the two little ones. The boy is eating fish and the girl is eating lasagna.
All right. All right, do we have a mystery Kiwanian today? Anyone? Oh,
Yeah. Bubba Smith was not it. Howard was our today.
all right, Howard, where would you like your $2 to go, sir?
The foundation.
$2 to the foundation. There you go. All right, split the pot dollars. We've got $37 in the pot today. $18.50 goes to the winner. Cheryl, could you pass that fish bowl around? I'd like our guests to pick out actually 2 tickets. The first ticket, please read the first 3 for the $18.50. Oh, excuse me, last 3.
Everybody wins.
We can split that.
Last three.
Last 3.
890.
890. We can go. Kelvin? Well, we put it down. 1850. Kelvin Bishop. And the second one for a door prize?
Is 886.
886. Door prize. Hugh Walker. You want the golf balls or you want the bag? You want the golf balls, the bag, or?
Golf balls, I'll go get them.
All right, that'll work. Okay, announcements. Today is actually Delaney's birthday. As a matter of fact, I would, Lisa, sing you happy birthday. So,
That's your gift. Happy birthday. That's your gift.
Birthday.
there you go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lena. Happy birthday to you.
Good job. Just kind of let you know also, remember the District Inter Club rally is on Wednesday, June the 5th at Collegedale City Hall. We definitely need 4 members to go and represent our club. I know I will not be here. I'm on vacation that week. I know. Don't get that excited, Michelle. Don't do the wave, Bruce, okay? Calvin Sneed from Channel 9 is going to be the guest speaker for that particular rally. Kay Smith, about round.
Even though Chris is going to be on vacation, I guess he won't be here June 1st or 2nd. June 1st and 2nd is our round clinic. They call that the Rural Area Medical Health Clinic. They'll be at Cleveland High School. We have over 200 volunteers both Saturday and Sunday. They'll be helping with the free dental and vision and medical care. They'll be set up throughout the high school. And what we're looking for today are some volunteers to help. And we have two opportunities. We'll call them opportunities. The first one is we have doctors that are flying in from New York State and New Jersey, and we don't know where more, I'm sure. And they have to be picked up at the Chattanooga airport, so we just need some volunteers to pick up on Friday afternoon, late, I think one's coming in 8 Friday night, and then to get them back to the airport on Sunday, whenever their flight is. And I have it on the sheet here. If you can help, we just need your name and your cell number, and the T on here stands for transportation, and then the B will be for the second opportunity, which is breakfast. Kiwanis has been sponsoring the breakfast for the 400 volunteers for several opportunities now. This has been 3 years ago since we had the RAM clinic. And we do the breakfast, and all the volunteers come in, and you have to be there early. In fact, Friday, we'll be setting up Friday morning at 10 o'clock, getting everything ready. And we actually have breakfast in the hallway there at the school. We don't go into the cafeteria because that's where the medical dental clinic is, but we'll be in the hallway, and we move our tables in there and get everything ready, and then set up the food early, 5 o'clock-ish, 5:30-ish on Saturday and Sunday mornings, and then we clean up by 9:30-ish, and then it's set up for lunch. Another group's doing lunch for volunteers. And St. Therese Catholic is doing dinner for all the volunteers that are from away on Saturday evening. So if you can help us in any way, I've got a sign-up sheet. You'll need to put your cell number, and if you're doing helping with transportation, we'll be in contact with you about when and where, because we're still waiting. And then if you can help with breakfast 1 or 2 days, we'll be glad to have you. So, any questions? What I did is I printed off pictures last night and put them in here of the RAM clinic that was 3 years ago. It was an experience. Paul was helping me that day. We were trying to find electricity so we could have breakfast. And so we learned a lot of good things, didn't we, Paul? So anyway, a lot of good stuff. So I'll send it with the sheet, so if you want to look at some of the things there. But we expect maybe 1,000 customers between the 2 days. So it's a massive event. Questions from anybody? Okay, thank you.
Let's see if we got anything else. Also, board meeting on Tuesday, the board accepted the membership application of Jim Holtz. We'll do the induction next week, next Thursday, Lord's willing. And we have any announcements from the floor? Anything else? Seeing none, we'll turn it over to our main program chairperson, Matt Ryerson.
Getting like the Brainer Club.
That was a little weak.
What is happening? What did you do to this club, Chris?
We're a little warped today.
I do want to echo what Kay said. I had the opportunity to volunteer with the RAM Clinic a few years ago, and it's an incredible experience. These people, just so you know, the desperate need in particular for dental care, people will drive hundreds of miles and spend the night in their vehicle in the parking lot to line up to make sure they get service. So yeah, it's amazing. So this is a wonderful, wonderful thing, and I thank Kay for doing that. We have a really good speaker today. Robert Greene is the director of the Ocoee FCA, and if you're not familiar with FCA, it's Fellowship of Christian Athletes, but it does so much, so many great things here in our community. Robert's an extraordinary family man, spent in our community for a number of years, is doing an amazing work with this program. So without further ado, let's give a warm Kiwanis welcome to Robert Greene.
Certainly appreciate the opportunity. I don't know if full moon is out tonight or school's out and the place is going wild. Somebody asked me, spending 23 years as a student pastor, kind of define my position or what my role was in life, I said I felt like more like the director of wildlife management for students. But I've had the opportunity to spend some time with FCA over the last 4 years. I want to share with you some of the stuff that's happening in the community. But before I do, anybody a Chuck Norris fan? I got a few Chuck Norris things. I found a few more Chuck Norris things. And being an ex-Green Beret, Chuck Norris thought he'd be a great role model for students to follow, right? But it said when Alexander Bell invented the telephone, he had 3 missed calls from Chuck Norris, right? Chuck Norris has a grizzly bear carpet in his room. The bear isn't dead yet, it's just afraid to move. They said that Chuck Norris won the American Idol using only sign language. That's how powerful Chuck Norris is, right? Yeah. Well, it said also that Chuck Norris counted to infinity twice. For you Alabama guys. It said once Chuck Norris climbed Mount Everest just by pure accident. Chuck Norris drowned a fish. Chuck Norris doesn't need a Twitter. He's already following you. There's a whole lot more of those Chuck Norrises that I think I'll head on. I want to start by telling you a story, and the story is kind of apropos to what I do in FCA in our 4-county community that I serve, the Ocoee region. There's a guy named Larry Waters. Larry was 13 years old when he kind of spent his first opportunity to go on the U.S. Army Navy surplus store. And when Larry got there, Larry became enamored with this object that he saw in there. It was a hot weather balloon. And for almost 20 solid years after his first experience of seeing these weather balloons at the Army Navy surplus store, he thought to himself, one day I'm going to do something pretty crazy. I'm going to launch myself into the air with these hot weather balloons. And so here comes that day in San Pedro, California, in the backyard of his girlfriend's house. He gets 40 hot weather air balloons, and he ties them to the bumper of his girlfriend's car. 2 tethers are holding all these 40 balloons. Now, what he doesn't know is an astronaut, man, would be absolutely terrified at the gravitational force that could happen the moment those tethers are cut. Well, Larry Waters doesn't know that. He's not an astronaut. He just wants to launch himself into the air. So Larry Waters gets in the cockpit, which is basically a Sears lawn chair, right? To which all these leather balloons are tied to, and then to the 2 tethers tied to the bumper of the car. Once they decided to go ahead and launch, they cut the first tether, and at the minute the first tether was cut, the second tether snapped. Well, all Larry had was a BB gun that he thought that he could go drift over the California desert and get somewhere over to the Rocky Mountains, and he wanted to land somewhere over there. He had this dream of doing this. As soon as the second tether cut, the gravitational force was so strong that it slung him into the sky at 1,000 feet per minute. So his glasses that he had on went off, his BB gun is lost now, he can't shoot the other balloons on, and now he's traveling, he's at 16,000 feet. And a TWA pilot is coming by over Los Angeles airport and says, man, you're not going to believe this. There's a guy tied to a Sears lawn chair carried by some weather balloons. He's 16,000 feet. He has no way of navigating himself. And they're like, what should we do? The end of the story for Larry is he made his way about another 50 miles, not nearly across the desert into the Los Angeles forest somewhere, and winds up coming down. And what Larry had was he had the ability to launch a dream. But he didn't have the navigational tools or the ability to get to the place where he really wanted to go. And what I've discovered working with middle school and high school students and college students over the last 22 years is a lot of times they have good launching pads, but they don't land where they intended on going. And so FCA has been kind of one of those organizations that helps to get in the lives of students on campuses, in middle school and high school and college campuses, and helps give them navigational tools to get where they're going, and more specifically, athletes and coaches. And so in 1954, basically, FCA was launched. Don McLaren launched FCA. In 1956, we had our very first camp, Camp Estes, Colorado. Anybody been out in that area of the country? Beautiful area, and that was the first FCA camp. And since then, there's been an explosion. To today, we reach nearly 2 million students every year. We're in 24 different nations of the world. We're the largest sports ministry on the planet. We have over 420 offices nationwide, over 900, actually close now to 1,000 full-time staff, and we're adding to that daily. And about 3.5 years ago, I became the Ocoee region's first paid staff person to oversee schools in our 4 counties and help bring direction and help bring navigational tools to FCA in our area. We had tremendous men and women from our community since the early 80s, like Steve Gibson and others, who have helped to kind of launch us. But now I've come along to help navigate us a little bit. And the launch has been beautiful. It's a great launch. We kind of got off to a fast start. And now what I've been doing over the last 4 years, or 3.5 years, is really seeing strength come to those areas. So I want to share what some of those things we're doing. Over the last 3.5 years, what we've been able to do is to launch Coaches Bible Studies, or Coaches Character Studies. We have a new program called 3-Dimensional Coaching. And 3-Dimensional Coaching, what we found out, study across the nation with college coaches, among also high school coaches and middle school coaches, is that most coaches coach at what we call the first level is a fundamental level. It's like they know everything about speed and agility and power and quickness and all those things, and they do those things well, but coaching the heart is not something they've always done necessarily well. If you got to watch the Rutgers basketball coach, he had a little bit difficult time, I think, coaching the heart of some of his athletes, maybe scaring them to death, but coaching them was a more difficult principle for him. And sometimes it's because of the way they were coached. And so what FCA has done is we created this 3-dimensional coaching, and really what we found is that 85% of coaches across America only coach at the first layer. The second layer is, how do you coach the heart of an athlete? How do you coach the emotions? Or a kid that plays for one school, doesn't get as much playing time. The next thing you know, he wants to go across town because he gets some more playing time, or she. And how do you coach team cohesion? How do you coach those kinds of things? And how do you coach the spirit of an athlete? And so over the past couple of years, we've been implementing some of these things. And what we've done is we've said things like this. Do you know that competition, healthy competition, was never meant to pit rivalry? You know, there's no place in Scripture where rivalry is a term that's healthy for competition. Now you're looking at me for a minute. What are you talking about? Listen, I grew up in enemy territory. I grew up in Gainesville, Florida. I'm a huge Gator fan, right? Probably doesn't go off well for some of you. And so what we have done in the industry of sport and the culture of sport is we pitted people. So like Cleveland High School and Bradley High School may be pitted against one another as rivalries. And so what we do is sometimes we demonize the other group across town instead of recognizing that real competition, if you were to get into the etymology of words, real competition just means to bring out the best in your opponent. And so whatever on that day, whoever has their best on that day wins, and those opponents can celebrate their gift and their talent of competition on that field that day. And what we're finding is ADs and others are getting this message and going, you know what, we've done this wrong. And here's how we found that out, is that every Monday morning now, coaches, or every other Monday morning, we have coaches going in at the Juvenile Detention Center sharing a character lesson with these students that are in there. And coaches from across the city will be there, and coach will say something like this. I heard one coach from across town say, I'll never talk to this guy, but we'll work together. And next thing you know, we've got guys, man, learning the power of service, as Kiwanis organization is, the power of service internationally and here, nationally. The power of service transcends this idea of rivalry. And these guys start working together, and incredible things start happening, to the point where I get to do stuff like the renewing of vows for coaches in their lives. Now, we set up CTOs, which is Coach's Timeout, where a coach and his family can get away, and we just talk to them about, things about financial, their financial future. We talk about how to make sure that's better, more secure. We talk about all kinds of advantages to coaching the heart of athletes. We talk about the fact that we want to transition coaches from being transactional, who all they care about is W's and L's, to a coach who cares more about where that student winds up as a father one day, or as a husband one day, or whether that's a good wife one day, or a good mother one day. And all of a sudden, what coaches have learned is, you know what, I'm not interested in being a legend anymore. I want to leave a legacy. And when you got coach, we have a legendary coach out of Florida who caught on to this principle about 6 years ago. And he changed his whole attitude of coaching. He was a state champion. Here's what he said. He looked into a camera and said this to a bunch of coaches around the country. He said, you know what, we may never win another state championship. But as long as I'm coach here at this high school, these 50 or 60 kids that I've got, they're going to live forever. And so what you see is a great transformational shift from being transactional. I only care about whether we have W's and L's to where I care about transformation of the heart. And here's what we discovered. If you've got an equal talent pool across town, and you've got coaches over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years who are coaching three-dimensionally, they win hands down. How do you know that? Well, because when we shared the same information 4 years ago with a guy at the University of Alabama, where they don't have all their teeth. When we shared this information with these guys, right? Coach Saban hired 4 sports psychologists just to deal with this issue of three-dimensional coaching. Now, he didn't get the idea of the spirit element into all of it, but he brought on sports psychologists to deal with things like this. And so this is the kind of stuff that we're seeing happen. To the point where when there's, just a few years ago, we experienced the travesty of our own community being hit by the tornadoes. The other thing that I noticed right away was coaches were on the phone calling their athletes. I remember Cleveland High School, when Coach Ike called me up and said, hey, listen, we got to get coaches together, we got to get athletes together. And one of our values in FCA, we have 4 particular ones that we really hang on, and one of them is to serve. Next thing you know, man, we got coaches from different schools meeting, coach calling coaches from this school, coach calling kids from this school. Next thing you know, there are hundreds of kids out there serving their guts out. Why? Because they see that serving transcends whether they get W's and L's on a Friday night or on a Tuesday basketball game. There's things that are more important in life than just winning a ball game. And all of a sudden you see the culture shift in sports. Listen, you used to be able to say this. You used to be able to say, you know what, just get that kid in sports and we'll see their character change, right? Just get them involved in some athletic playing field, and that'll bring character in their life. And what we discovered is not true. How we know that is just a few years ago, they did this study among they asked 195 world-class athletes this question. If we could give you a performance-enhancing drug where nobody would ever find out, would you take it? 195 world-class athletes. I'm not talking about just your average athlete, the world-class, best athletes in the world. If we could give you a performance-enhancing drug where nobody ever found out, would you take it? Do you know how many out of 195 said they'd take it? Not quite that many. 191. So then the next stage of question was, if you knew that after 5 years of taking this drug, it would reduce your life. Matter of fact, you have a great propensity for to die within the next 10 years. Would you take the drug? You know how many said they'd take it? 178. So what we're learning is in the culture of sports, particularly money and all the stuff that's related there, is that sports do not build character. You know who builds character in the lives of young men and young women? Coaches. That's why Billy Graham made this statement. He said, the coach in the community will impact more lives in 1 year than most will in a lifetime. And so that's why here at the Ocoee region, when I came on board, we had 1 coach's Bible study. Now we have 7. And we have about 45 or 50 coaches tracking with us every week on what it looks like to be a coach that wants to leave a legacy instead of just being a coach that wants to be a legend. And it's impacting, I'm telling you, it's impacting the entire community in so many different ways. I mean, just think about it. 3,000 kids will pass through the juvenile justice system this year. 3,000. This particular Monday, I was in there with 5 coaches, and we saw 2 students surrender their lives to Christ, 2 students who are already involved in our mentoring program. But over the past year, we've had hundreds of kids who've made decisions, who've made great turnaround. And, to the point where Coach Todd Stevenson, a football coach over at Bradley, sees one of his ex-football players in there and reconnects with him, and all of a sudden sees a mentoring relationship to develop, and that kid was back on the team this past year. Why? Because coaches care. And you know the 2 most powerful words right now, in really, I believe, in American culture? Coach says. How do I know that, man? Because when I was working with these coaches and doing these coaches' Bible studies, I'd be at a football practice on a Thursday, and I'd hear a coach say, gentlemen, tomorrow morning, 6:45, FCA is meeting on the campus. I want to see you there. And I'd see about 35 or 40 of those kids show up at FCA that morning because a coach said. So here's what we believe. We believe if community businesses and partnerships with other civic organizations will come together to touch and tap one of the most influential pieces of American culture right now, and that's sports. 44 million kids are involved in organized athletics. 44 million are involved in organized athletics right now. And that trend is continuing. They did this unique study after the Cold War of the influence of athletics over the past 20 years. It's phenomenal to study. Do you know that for the first time in history this year, we have more female athletes involved in organized athletics than males? 52%. I saw the thing last night. You're seeing this trend everywhere. I saw last night on the news, they said that 44 million people almost would be a part of the Ocoee Whitewater deal. 43,900,000 people. You know, they said that there's more females on the Ocoee River coming than there are males. So there's a huge trend happening. So here's what we want to do. We want to hire a female ministries coordinator to help us with FCA, character coaches. Here's what we did. Cliff knows we're on campus quite a bit over there at Cleveland High School and all the different schools. We had character coaches over every middle school and high school football team this last 2 years. And what we do is we go in with youth pastors and other civic organizational leaders and we say, listen, do you want to be a character coach? And here's what you do. Here's how you impact the lives of these students. You just show up, because ministry of presence is sometimes more than what you say. Just be there. And here's what coaches are doing differently now. Like, for instance, one school has decided, you know what, they put stickers on the back of football helmets, not because of how many great plays you make, but because of how much you serve. You know what they found out? They got these scout teams that never get to play on Friday night. Now these scout teams, these kids that serve their guts out, don't drive to pick up 3 or 4 other players because they're normally late to practice. And a coach will say, you know what, this guy deserves a sticker. He's always getting the water refilled. He's always doing this. And all of a sudden, this kid runs out on the football field, man. He's got more stickers than the star running back. And so he's playing harder, and that team level is right. Here's what they're finding is that team cohesion goes way up, and the level of athletics go way up. We just need administrators who will wait long enough to see it happen. Because if you do it the right way, Tony Dungy proved it. You can win championships. And so that's what we're trying to do in a community. We have 4 C's that are important to us, and I'll end with this. One is that campus. We want to make sure we do a good job on that campus. Last year we partnered with superintendent of schools, we partnered with teachers, and what we brought in a guy by the name of Steve Fitzhugh. Steve Fitzhugh is a national spokesperson for One Way to Play. What he does all over America is he encourages athletes to play drug and alcohol free. They've created a program, FCA has, where they take and they get students to be accountable, and they get a card, and they say, on this day, I commit 100% to my team, to my coaches, and to my campus to play drug and alcohol free. And then what they did is they get a follow-up accountability card with a big poster signed by all the athletes that are going to commit to do that this year. And they hold each other accountable. When Steve came in, we got in, it's unprecedented in our community. We got into every school. We did full school assemblies in every school but Bradley. Next year he promised me he's going to give me a full school assembly. We got a full school assembly in Meigs. We got a full school assembly in Athens Middle School. And we hit nearly 8,000 students. Then we did a night called Fields of Faith. We're supposed to be on Bradley football field. They got too much water on the field. They wouldn't let me drive trucks on there to put all the equipment. So we went to Jim Smitty Arena. We had 2,000 people show up. Anybody there, by the way? Fields of Faith? Yeah. 2,000 kids show up. You know 140 kids that night made a commitment to turn their life around? You know 40 that night for the very first time trusted in Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior? Unbelievable experience in a school setting where we have an opportunity to pull people together from our community that sees that we're making a difference in the impact. So those campuses are important to us. Second thing is those coaches, which I already told you much about. I had one particular coach. I'll tell you how impactful this is. A coach now that will raise thousands of dollars to make sure that some of his athletes can get over to an international experience in a third world country and see that this kid who struggles here economically doesn't have near the struggle across seas. So he gets things in proper perspective. And so he raised thousands of dollars in our community, got kids over there. We sent 24 athletes over there. Had one young man who's a sophomore, who's a middle linebacker, right? He gets over there, and the last night he starts to say something to us as we watch this whole week unfold in the country of Honduras. We were in Guaymaca, and we were in a little small, well, not a small, fairly large orphanage with about 580 kids in there, right? And here's this kid on the last day. We're kind of debriefing and sharing our experiences. This kid says this. He said, you know what? I'm not a believer. Matter of fact, he said, I grew up in the city of Cleveland. I'm so tired and sick of religion. He said, I don't believe God speaks to anybody. And I was like, That's not quite the testimony I was hoping for into this experience, right? This middle linebacker keeps sharing, says, but you know what? When I saw my coach serve the last 4 days, these kids in this orphanage, he said, it did something to him. And he went down to work in what they call the toddler house, about 40 kids under the age of 3 years old. And he saw a little indolent girl with her arms up, and this little stud middle linebacker went down to pick this kid up, this little girl, and got her to about right here. And he said, Robert, 2 things happened. The God that I didn't believe in spoke to me. And he said this is exactly how you come to me, just like this. And right there, at an orphanage in Honduras, a middle linebacker who didn't believe in God, who was disillusioned by religion, saw a coach who had the value and character to serve, turn his life around. And so you know what we want to do? We want to make sure we keep impacting coaches so they have a heart to be a coach that wants to leave a legacy, and not a coach that just necessarily wants to be a legend. And that's making a huge impact here in this area. I'm telling you, it's just doing some phenomenal things in some coaches' lives. The third C that we really work on is camps. You may not know this, but we have over 350 camps nationwide. I'm leading. I put some of this on your table. We're doing a competitors camp where we bring in 3 different tracks. Last year I led the adventure camp. This is the center portion of this. I'm an ex-Green Beret. I like to kind of challenge kids to the highest level. So I'll put them over a 60-foot rock face and kind of get them to lean over, never been rappelling before, and challenge them right there. Got their full attention, right? I get them on this class 5 whitewater rafting experience. Or I get them up, we climbed the 3rd highest peak east of the Mississippi over on the Blue Ridge Parkway, going up blindfolded, carrying a 4x4 beam with all their notes they were taking this week. They had to carry with them everywhere they went. And I saw one kid after the other transform. A girl named Serena Toller, she's from Polk High School, comes up from a pretty tough background. Serena on the 3rd day surrendered. She had one of these moments where she just couldn't make it all the way down the mountain. She's carrying a wrestler from Cleveland High School. Kid decided, you know what, I'm going to carry her beam for her. He carried 3 or 4 because a couple of the girls are getting tired. So he carried it for her. He was about half her size. He carries it for her. She breaks and she starts to tell me her story about her granddad, who she lost, who had a special relationship with. Next thing you know, man, Serena Toller is now finishing high school. She's got selected to go to a school that's going to train her for ministry. She turned her life around, wasn't a believer, and she's going to continue to run cross country. She ran the last day we do a 5K race. She ran with her 4x4 beam because she's so impacted. Kids kept these things everywhere. That's what FCA gets to do. We're doing it here in the Cleveland community. The last C is really, what I told you a little bit earlier, is our community. We really embrace the community. We want to partner with organizations like the Kiwanis. We want to partner with organizations like United Way. We want to partner with organizations in our community that are making a difference. FCA really want to reach out to the church community as well and get youth pastors to decide, you know what, we're going to do more than just pastor our little group over here. We're going to reach out and serve the community. We're going to get on campuses. We're going to make a difference. Here's what we're doing. We're teaching every youth pastor that wants to teaching them how to do an anger-based or a faith-based anger management class that we taught and has been adopted by the court system. Do you know that 3,000 kids will pass through there? I met with 3 kids this past week. All 3 of them were in the juvenile detention center because of a domestic problem with their mom or dad. They say that nearly 80% of those kids need anger management classes, but they don't have enough stuff to offer. So we're teaching every youth pastor. So what we hope is that family will connect to a local church in the community who will give them a free class, do 6 sessions of anger management with them, give them tools to help them with that thing and turn that thing around. And do you know that it's already taken place? And we're seeing kids really turning some of that stuff around. And we're seeing now churches are willing to commit their time and resources and abilities to do that. So I wanted to share those things with you today. I want you to see how FCA is a little bit larger than just what you may have known as far as a campus club. Now we're engaging. We're in the process of trying to hire someone to do a teammates mentoring program. I want you to dream with me for a minute. What would it look like if 3,000 kids, and I saw a study that said that it cost $92,000. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I saw the study. $92,000 to have a kid involved in the juvenile court system for a year with all the case workers, the probation officers, with all the stuff they have to do. It costs the average in the state of Tennessee to keep a kid in that system for over a year, $92,000. It seems a lot bigger than I thought it would ever be. Could you imagine coaches going in every week, 15 to 20 of them? Churches, youth pastors and leaders going in there every week, and we establish, what I'm trying to hope to do is establish a mentoring program called Teammates, where every kid who decides to sign up for Teammates, once they get out of the juvenile course, if they are court appointed to be a part of, they meet with an educator or a coach on campus for 45 minutes. And they go through a 12-week mentoring manual. And all of a sudden a natural relationship is developed, and that kid doesn't have to go back to court. And they get out of the system. How much money that'd save our community? I mean, you put the numbers together. I mean, if we just saved 30 or 40 of them out of that system. So, could you dream with me a little bit? What would it look like if we could do that? What would it look like if 10 or 15 more businesses in our community would be a gold partner with us and just join with us and help us to do that? It would significantly impact our community in tremendous ways. And we've got coaches and educators ready right now, launched, ready to go. So we've already been doing it for a year and a half. We're already seeing, you can ask Terry Galler, the director of courts, he says one of the best things he's ever seen happen at the juvenile court system right now. So that's what we're trying to do. We want to reach out to our community as well. And we hope to hire someone to start serving in the Meigs and McMinn area. Guys, thanks so much for your time. I know that just for the mere fact that you're here today and you're part of the Kiwanis, you already have a heart to serve. And I'm grateful for you giving me the opportunity, and Matt for the opportunity to share a little bit about what FCA now is doing in your community. So thank you for your support, and appreciate guys like Cliff and others that work with us in the educational system that help us do what we do. We want to continue to make an impact with coaches and athletes on campuses and through our camps. If you know a kid, you have a son or daughter that want to go to a camp, 80% of our kids that go to camp we give scholarships to, $200 or more. We help them go. So if you even know a student that needs to go to camp, take one of those forms with you, fill it out, and we'll make sure they get to camp, and we'll help them. We'll pay their way to camp this year. Thanks, Dan.
Anyone got any questions? Vince?
Robert,
Yes.
you're talking coaches, professionals, ministers. What about the lay people, the average person? How can they help?
Yeah, absolutely. We put this out to really to the entire community. We have, as well, we have students from the university, from Tennessee Wesleyan, we have students from Lee University. As a matter of fact, I meant to introduce today to you, Jonathan Wynn is a full-time intern with us, just came on board. Jonathan's life was changed at an FCA camp up in Indiana, right? Or Maryland area. Also let you know, just part of that community is our board development, and Matt Thomason is here and is part of our board and helps us do what we do. Matter of fact, our board's significant in raising support and giving direction to our program. And so, yeah, we open it up to anybody who wants to serve. We've opened up some partnerships with the Girls and Boys Club and also with the YMCA as well. So we need moms and dads, basically.
With tolerance being such a buzzword, I didn't know, do you see in the past few years Christian being in your name is causing any problems?
Yeah, it has. We are FCA on the campus of Vanderbilt was challenged. FCA Ridgeland High School was challenged. FCA at Saudi Daisy was challenged. And there will be a day when we probably won't be allowed on the campus. But I will say this, our strategy is coaches. And as long as we're impacting coaches, I meet with them on Cracker Barrel every Thursday morning. I meet with them on different places. As long as we're making a difference in coaches' lives, they'll continue to make a difference with students on that campus. So yeah, and I'll be upfront and honest with you about tolerance issues. Maybe I better not. Go ahead. generally what I like to do is I like to get tolerance in the ring as an ex-Green Beret, and so let's go at it and see whoever wins will be more tolerant. No. No, I'm just kidding.
That was my question too, is are you having more problems with the freedom of religion, ACLU and so forth like that?
You know, we really are, and here's the deal. I think there's a level of, I think we need to be cautious too, because I think that sometimes we allow fear and we pull back in the Christian community, and nowhere in the definition of tolerance does it say we have to believe the same way that anybody else believes, or accept necessarily everything anybody else believes. But it also means I do believe that we're supposed to respond with love, and we're supposed to respond in a way that brings dignity and honor to the name of Christ. So I would push that any way we respond to anybody would be love. And here's what I think we need to be as smart or as wise as the Scripture says, as servants, and as gentle as doves. I mean, and so we're trying to reclassify names. I don't call them chaplains anymore. I call them character coaches, and we do a lot of things. And a lot of times we don't feel like it's our role on a campus necessarily to propagate faith. We think it's our role to allow our faith to come out of our actions and the way we respond to people through our character and our virtue and our values, and then let that stuff happen in the church. You know? Yeah.
You mentioned Tony Dungy. Talk a little bit about any collaboration you have with All Pro Dads.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, gosh, All Pro Dads is a tremendous organization. Of course, Tony's. I'm trying to promote something right now. I'm hoping this year at Fields of Faith is there's a community in Opelika, and I was telling Matt about this, that launched a whole one city, one book, one vision, and they went through Uncommon, and they just dealt with the character traits. I don't know if any of you guys have read Uncommon, phenomenal book about just character issues, and the whole city took it on. I'm talking about from the mayor on down, so that in the courthouse they had uncommon generosity, uncommon character, uncommon, and each month it was something different. And they brought Tony in to speak just to challenge young men. It was incredible. Out of it came a literacy program. Out of it came all kind of stuff. It was amazing. Any other questions? Did I miss anybody?
Hey, Robert, I'd just like to say, just firsthand experience that some of these guys haven't had a chance to be involved in, from being on campus and seeing you on campus, and you guys are bringing in, speakers and working with the coaches and kids and everything. I appreciate what you do. We can tell a big difference. I think it's really impacting kids. I think it's really impacting our future, and I appreciate all that you all are doing for the schools, because I know that it's not just at Cleveland High, you're at Bradley, you're at Walker, middle schools and so forth, and you guys are doing a pretty good job. Thank you.
We were talking about tolerance on that. I'll say this. Freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. Anyway. Yeah. Before we dismiss today, I'd like to particularly, I know we did it last week, but in memory of Melissa Jones, in honor of Melissa, if you don't mind, would you stand with me and just for a brief moment of silent prayer in her memory, and that in particularly of her family and her children. Amen. Seeing no further business come before the club, we'll stand adjourned.
Great job. Thank you. Great job.